everybody, and welcome to our 1-year anniversary of our 12 for 12 webinar series from LMEA, Louisiana Music Educators Association. If you have not heard of this program before, this platform, we encourage you to go to lmeamusic.org, go to our YouTube channel, and you will find so many great, valuable resources of wonderful people coming on this program and talking about relevant, important topics for you to be a better teacher, a better person, and a better director in your school. There is no better way to celebrate our 1-year anniversary than to have our guest here today. This is Mr. Lennard Holden. Lennard is the director at Southwood High School up over there in Shreveport in the north area of Louisiana, and he is the 2021 recipient of the first time ever the Robert L. Wilhite Award of Excellence. Lennard, welcome, my friend, and welcome to our 1st-year anniversary. That's right.
Right. You have to get those sound effects in there. You're gonna have to get those sound effects.
So in our pre-talk, we kind of just, hey, what's going on right now? We're in March, right? So heavy assessment time, and you guys are about to perform. How is that going?
Well, ask me in the I know, you just kind of, I don't know if I'm like you, other directors. I really can't hear at this point,
right.
Like how many times can you try to fix a phrase? How many times can you find who's playing the wrong note? It's like, I'm ridiculous at this point. I just, hey, put me out of my miseries. That's why
we get ear blind, right? We heard that term, nose blind. We get ear blind to that. And you mentioned that you have somebody coming into your program to spend some time with the students, and we need that, right?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I went to the Southern University concert band thing that they did, and I was at a conference and I saw Mr. Taylor, the director of bands at Southern University. He said, "Hey man, I really want you guys to come down." And I hadn't had any plans, and so I rushed back home and I kind of got things organized. And I told the kids, and like, "Yeah, let's go," And before we went, Emmanuel Hudson at Booker T. Washington High School, he wanted me to come in and listen to his group and give pointers. And we laughed about this the other day that we pay people, or we'll find clinicians to come in and say the same stuff we're saying, but my voice is more pleasant than Emmanuel Hudson's voice. So they're going to listen to me.
But the kids are going to hear it better, right? Because somebody else said it.
Yes. Same thing. LSU's band director, he did a clinic with him after that, and he was saying the same things I'm saying, but you saw these light bulbs go over their heads, and I just wanted to punch everybody, and the parents are like, "Yeah, go ahead and get them," because they're waiting for the point,
So, Lennard, you've got, we're talking about, these people are coming in, they're saying the same things I'm saying, which confirms the fact that, it kind of feels good that, hey, these top guys, right, LSU, Southern, doctorate degrees, years and years of experience, they're coming in and confirming the things that I've been teaching these students since day one. It kind of makes you feel good, kind of pumps up your chest, but I wasn't always like that, right? Can you talk about, our title here is called Brick by Brick. It's the Southwood way, maybe a few bricks were in place. Can you kind of talk about your starting point and what you inherited?
I came to Southwood in 2007, in the fall of 2007, and before I made it here, I really don't know the reason why they couldn't keep directors at Southwood. I just never could find that out. But everyone, all the other directors and retired directors and even administrators would tell me how no one would stay. And I got in, and the kids were all good kids, but they were used to doing things kind of their way. And so, of course, we all were there too when we were teenagers. You're just pretty selfish, and it doesn't matter what is best for us. We just want to do our thing. And so they hated me. They hated everything I stood for.
So why was that? Just because you were a little more strict, or your expectations were higher? Well,
I don't necessarily know if my expectations were higher, but I think I'm the kind of person, I only know how to function in some kind of structure. I don't want to go to a town where it's all stop signs, because somebody's going to run the stop sign. I want some street lights. Tell me when it starts slowing down, when it moves. And I think that offended a lot of the kids at that time. And so, of course, a big drove got out, and only about 23 kids, stayed in, and we just started building from that. So my job was to get in and tell them what the goal was, what they could receive from this program, what my vision was. And I think the overall vision was realizing where they were as people, and we talked about earlier that, when you're a teenager, you just selfish. It's all about you. So I marketed that, hey, look, we're going to be doing parades. We're going to be going to competitions, Battle of the Bands, and stage performances, jazz band and stuff. I mean, everybody's going to see you. And they drunk the juice. Okay. They wanted to be a part of it. They wanted to be vaunted up, and so it didn't take long for some real measure of success because we worked hard. They worked really, really hard. And I just think that was the overall challenge for me, was showing them what I thought could happen with the program, and who was going to be able to help us do that, and what kind of people we had to be to get that done. So
what you came to Southwood from another school, and how many years were you there?
At Clinton High School for 2 years.
So not a whole lot of experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, for me, man, I started as an assistant director. I didn't have to start my own program.
Right.
And that was really helpful to me in my career, where I didn't get the full brunt of me being the guy, right? So I got to learn a little bit under a great teacher's wing. I mean, did that help you? What would have happened if that would have been your first year, or did you feel better prepared going into it after a couple of years?
Well, I think what needs to be understood, some of the reason why I didn't have such a difficult time, I was 29 when I came to Southwood. And so I started school late. I was in culinary arts. I did that for 3 years. And I decided to go back to school and get my music degree. And so in a fresh out of college, 23-year-old or 24-year-old. As a matter of fact, the first day of school, it was my birthday. So I turned 30 when I first got to Southwood. And
wow.
So that helped a little bit. I got in the game a little late. So, but what helped me was seeing how other directors did things, and I'm always looking at people in the world and other programs and other forms of art, and seeing how I can make that better. Oprah Winfrey said, when she said, some of my best ideas are not my ideas, I just make them better, and so that's kind of what, you're jealous that these people come up with these amazing things, but it's always a part of you thinking, look, I can do that better. I can put a spin on this. Let's change the lighting on this picture. Let's add to what is being done. So that's been my approach with that.
You mentioned a while ago, almost kind of talking about character education for those students, right? More than music. Kedrick Taylor over at Southern, you mentioned him a while ago, and he said he really values and does a lot of work on that, sometimes more than music, is making sure that students are good people first and training that. I mean, did you feel that was something you had a vision for, something you were comfortable in doing?
Well, it wasn't a challenge. I think most people, we always want to be a little bit better than we were last year. We always want to be a part of something that makes us less unseen or less unheard. And so, of course, those values are something that are things that we all, as directors, we try to put into our students. But it's more important that, when you have students that have not done this before and they're being introduced to it at a high school level, they need to understand, hey, you need to be a good person. You need to be a good person to get this done, because you're going to be like drinking out of a fire hydrant. Things are going to be coming. And I think that mixture of that particular unique situation allows them to live in truth, where they look at that mirror every day and they have to, they won't survive around here if they don't, look at themselves, to get better every day. So I think that is true.
So you were not necessarily a rookie teacher. You weren't a rookie in your own skin, right? You were comfortable.
Right.
You were established family, established friends. Moving into a program like that with that vision of stage, jazz, concert, marching, right? These are the things that my vision is for this program. We have 20-something kids. I want it to be the best band that we can make it be. And you had a lot of success those first years. But what did that do to establish family and friendship contact? Did that put some strain on that area of your life?
Well, I feel like what I do is my calling, something that I take personal. I do it with purpose because, for me, in my faith and my beliefs, I definitely want to live this life and feel like I have done my part in putting my little light bulb into the dial and turn that light on, and so making my little part of the world just a little bit brighter. And so it is personal for me. I don't know if it's personal for all directors. I think it is, but it most certainly is something that I take serious, and that I definitely want to lives with.
Tell us about your staff over at Southwood.
Well,
you have a staff, is what I'm getting at.
I have very dedicated former students, and so I find that most comfortable for me, because I don't have to train them in how I approach this thing, and they understand the rhythm of how we move and what we do, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. And so I do have a few people that come in, like my auxiliary directors and color guard and percussion instructor in the fall. But any of those other things that would be considered a staff is not through our district. It's just kind of homegrown, and some kids go to
assistant director 1, assistant director 2. I've got a percussion instructor that floats around between 3 schools. You're it, right?
But Cattle Parish does have, I don't know if other districts have this. We have itinerant positions. Okay. And we have a woodwind specialist, percussion specialist, and a brass specialist. So I might see, in one semester, I might see a brass instructor. He would come once, maybe twice a week for a class period. And so that does kind of help. If I have a kid auditioning for underband or all-state, they can go to one of our auxiliary and work with those kids. So that does alleviate some of the stresses of what we do. But no necessarily no directors. I wish they tell Santa about that. I'm looking for one. Okay?
Can you talk about I guess this would kind of talking about two different programs here, is when you began and where you're at now, right? What those bricklayers look like. Two things are parent support, parent participation, and then administration or budget support. What kind of finances do you work with? What kind of fundraising do you have to do to sustain your program? So let's tackle the parent situation first.
Well, basically, like everyone else, when you have a year off and then another year that's kind of like restricted some, that's a 2-year gap that you have, that those connections with parents and some of those officer position, those kids have graduated off there in college now. And so now I'm kind of like at square one again, starting, and I had a few parents come last week, and that was the first step. It felt new and odd a little bit, having those parents understand me, understand how I move when when we move and we're traveling, we're getting off the buses to eat or what. Those parents need to know those things. So I'm having not a challenge. I'm just realizing that, hey, this is going to be work from beginning all over again, because when you have those traditions with the students and parents, they pass those traditions down. So if a new parent comes in and, sometimes we all know this, sometimes parents can be very, very supportive, and they understand the role of boosters, and their job is to support the director in the vision for the director. And then you have other parents who thinks it's some kind of democracy where they we're gonna, you're not, so those parents would normally pass those things down. And so I'm having to teach that all over again. And so, that's frustrating for me.
Yep.
So, but as far as the students, did you ask about the students also?
Well, sure. I mean, you can talk about that. Administrative support through the years, has that changed or flipped at all? And then, kind of talk about, especially a lot of our first year directors of, what does that budget look like when you first started? What does that look like now? What do you have to do to sustain a program that you've built and are doing a lot of things?
I really want to be hopeful and tell these young directors they're going to walk into programs where you're going to have this budget that comes from the district, and it's going to be so dollars, and you can slice those things up and say, I'm going to use this for technology, and I'm going to use this over here for clinics. You're going to have to work. And if education overall it is for the strong people who you have to love it in your soul to be able to weather the storms of so many no's. You're going to get so many no's that you're going to think it's a part of your name. Hey, Mr. No. Okay. So when I came into Southwood, I was very blessed. I inherited a major fundraiser and how we fund our program through Louisiana gaming funds. And it's just like a casino, but we run bingo. And as a matter of fact, Parkway High School has a bingo night, and Southwood High School has a bingo night. And you can come in and you have your parents and, whoever has been trained through the state to work your session. And if it's a good night, whatever is left over from paying all the bills from the security that's there and the rental of the halls, all the equipment, all that, you put that in your bank account. And then some nights the numbers are low, you're just breaking even, and some nights you lose money. But that's the blessing, is when I need a trombone, I can go buy a trombone, even if the district won't purchase me a trombone. The curse for me is, in 15 years, I've never had a vacation because you have to be there every Thursday. I want to leave Louisiana for the summer and just go away. I've never experienced there. So now I'm like a rented mule. I will keep going no matter what. And I don't know how to not be going and moving. And so,
Mr. Holden, no is a complete sentence. I've heard that very recently, and that speaks volumes to me. No is a complete sentence. You need to add that to your vocabulary.
Look, I'm writing it down right now. Okay. But as far as administrations, I've been under 3 administrations, and I don't know. I just think it's my charming personality. I don't know, But I've been so blessed, man. The principal that hired me, he was an ex-military guy and former coach. And so it was just, we understood each other. And the second principal, he was an assistant principal. They went and came back to Southwood. We didn't like each other at first, but as a matter of fact, he called and said, hey, don't leave. Just give me a chance. And you'll notice that we have a whole lot in common. And he was the bigger person there. And there was a great working relationship. And my administrator now, Dr. Kim Pendleton, she's just a breath of fresh air because it's a different touch on things. And, she got here and then the pandemic hit. And then, of course, so we're still learning her style and how she does things. But I think she's a brilliantly smart administrator. And so I'm hopeful for the future around here. So. Absolutely.
Hey, let's pivot a little bit. I want to give you 2 acronyms that have come through since COVID, right?
Okay.
SEL, social emotional learning, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. What do those 2 things mean to you now? Does it mean something different? Is it Is it encouraging to hear these things in education right now, or is it something different for you?
It's a little bit of both. D, just about the DEI. It is great that we have leadership in our state and in our personally in District 8, our leadership that realizes the importance of this, but it's a slippery slope also because for me personally, I have never wanted the approval of others, and I've never wanted to be at a table that I wasn't wanted at. Mm. And so I believe in those intentions of inclusion and having diversity and everyone being equal, but I think it's dangerous to focus solely on that in the sense of victimization, and that's a tricky thing. So I'm encouraged that there's not a lot of pushback that I've noticed for those things.
These are great conversations to have, although uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
And you being on the DEI council with LMEA, man, just bringing about things to us that we need to hear, even as uncomfortable as they may be, things that we should hear, and things that help us prepare to move forward. And you are always one who wants to make sure that we are always inclusive, where we have ideas. For instance, and then the most memorable thing that I remember us talking about is, how do you navigate core style versus show band, right? In marching band, how do you adjudicate that? How do you be inclusive in that? And there's some areas in our state who are doing their own competitions with just show band style. Mm-hmm. And I remember you saying, well, that's not inclusive. Right. How can we be inclusive where you can have those same two ideas on the same marching field and all of the judges would be trained? And that resounds for me every time I think of DEI. That's the thing, is that inclusivity, but I've also heard, Lennard, and I want you to speak about this, that sometimes people feel so excluded that they're just going to take their ball and go start their own game.
As a matter of fact, I just had a conversation about this. Some things happened recently, and I'm not comfortable with this saying those particular things. But a group of directors got with me and say, "Hey, look, why don't we just all leave and do our own thing?" And that is a natural thing to, when you feel like you're being underserved or unseen, it's a natural thing to say, look, hey, let's build home over here. We don't want to build home over there. And while I truly understand with every fiber of my being, I understand that I don't necessarily know if it's fruitful. And the challenge is with all of us is being able to get past something that's uncomfortable. And I can be uncomfortable, but this penicillin is going to make me better. It's going to make me better, even though, yes, I don't like this flavor. I don't like being in this hospital. But it's going to make us better. And when you're choosing not to become better, that is where the problem is, because we can make rules, laws, treaties, all of those things, but we cannot tell someone to be a decent person. We can't tell someone, they have to make that decision for themselves. And so in all facets of society, I think that even happens with the music world, the band world, the education world, anything. Everyone is going to go with what most feels comfortable. And I think that's where those problems start, because, when you think about show style or core style, these are just cultures, and as opposed to saying I mean, one of the greatest things that we did with some of my friends at Mississippi College, I was one of the only blacks everywhere at Mississippi College. And we would always do these things like my friends say, hey, look, we wanted to understand each other's culture. And it was not something that we did out of immaturity or, some hidden spite or anything like that. We truly wanted to learn one another. And so Jackson State has this big high school battle of the bands that they do every year. And here I am with 20 white people, and I show up to this battle of the bands. And, they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. You would never know what it's like until you've experienced that. We would come to DCI. Used to do, I don't know if they still do this down in Baton Rouge, but we would leave Jackson and drive down to Baton Rouge. At a high school that they would have a regional core. You remember that?
Yeah, pre-COVID, they did it around. They did a show at Tiger Stadium or Cajun Field in Lafayette. Then they would have hosts. The drum corps would be rehearsing at local high schools around the area. Yes,
and so we would go and experience these things. And my high school band director, we didn't march corps, but we would watch Drum Corps International. We would watch the videotapes of it in the band hall. And he taught us to be open to the idea that it's other ways of doing this. And it doesn't mean that, hey, just because they like raisins in their coleslaw or these people like a whole lot of salt on their fries or whatever, it's whatever. And it's okay. It's okay to not initially be okay. And I think that's the problem with music and education, especially in this area, is that some people are just so afraid of the unknown, something that they've never done before, something that they've never had to deal with. And, that goes around both sides of it.
Yeah, and having those experiences, right? I mean, when I grew up, that HBCU style is, so many words that are associated with that style, right? Or show style, military style, HBCU style. It was kind of told to us that those are not appropriate. Those aren't appropriate sounds they're making. Those aren't traditional things. Those are inappropriate things. But man, just seeing that as a grown man, it's so it's entertaining, right? B, there's complete value to that, and then C, it's like you said, it's culture, and to dig into that and know why they do what they do, and it's so refreshing as a grown man to see that there is inclusivity in that. You can do both. So I got to know, man, the 21 white students, how was that? What did they feel? Did they feel a little uncomfortable going through that, or going to Jackson State, that little festival where they were probably the minority in that arena?
I think the truth is they trust that I wouldn't put them in a situation where that they would be made feel uncomfortable. I think Black people in general are just an accepting type of people. Life can be difficult, and we might come off a little harsh, but we're pretty loving. So no, it was a great experience. And as a matter of fact, I remember some of the conversations that we had is that some of them felt slighted that they've never been able to sit down and enjoy that and see multiple groups like that, and they can compare groups. And just like what you said, it's a culture thing, and to see that in that light, was refreshing.
Yeah, you always speak from the heart, man. I love talking to you so much.
Got me in trouble a couple of times, so look, I hope
your program's offering. Can you just talk about what you've built? And you mentioned a couple of things. So what do you do pre-COVID, post-COVID, or whatever? What do you enjoy? What do you teach your kids, from pop to classical to jazz? What does your program look like right now in 2022?
Well, I am just like, dude, I really like a whole lot of stuff. And, I remember growing up, I was born in 76. And so I grew up in the 80s. And so my mom would listen to Patsy Cline cassette tapes and the Judds or Randy Travis, you know,
hey, great stuff, man.
in Motown, Motown, and so we just had this. It was like a gumbo. It really, truly is like a gumbo. And you know, if you ever had real authentic Louisiana gumbo, you know, you throw everything but the kitchen sink in there. And so, you know, this program we really like a lot. So I don't personally listen to the newer stuff that's on the radio right now. So the kids have to, you know, educate me on that. So, you know, it's just, you know, if we're doing the Battle of the Band show, of course, I'm doing the DJing. So I'm on the microphone. So, you know, some songs are just so awful, I can't even clean them up. So we have to throw them out, you know? So, you know, that's a challenge for us. And then I remember when I first got to Southwood, and because Southwood used to be an all-white school and it was a core style band. And as a matter of fact, a funny story, when I got to Southwood, I was trained in core style too. I knew it, and I marched to Mississippi College, and I got in. I was going to do my first show was going to be West Side Story, and I was excited about it. And you know, the first day, and they were like, "We don't do that no more. Don't do that no more." I was like, "Okay," got my bags and stuff. Said, "Let's try it tomorrow." So I started over with that, but I remember thinking, okay, so I'm going to have to approach this thing where I'm trying to marry these two worlds. The kids clearly want this program, and we have a lot of people in the community that wants this also. So I would merge both of those worlds together. I remember doing the Children of Sanchez. I did a whole Latin show, and the Children of Sanchez was my my drill song. So I'm marching 8 to 5 to Children of Sanchez, and I remember getting ready to come back into the stands after halftime performance, and the guy looks at me. He yells from the bleachers at the top, and he said, "Hey!" And I'm thinking he's getting ready to say, you know, that was an awesome job. He said, "You the band director?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Why are you playing all this white folks music?" So, man, I was crushed. I didn't want to say it at the time. I was crushed. I really was crushed. And it's a funny thing that happened, because in the gym at a pep rally, they wanted to feature the band, so the band got on the basketball court, and they did this old rap song. I can't even remember what the rap song, but a lot of teachers had a problem with that. I remember my principal at that time came around because he wasn't in the pep rally, and we're getting ready for the game. He says, "Now this is all happening on the same day." Said, "Hey, Mr. Holden, what was the problem with the?" I said, "What?" He said, "Well, they said it was a little bit wrong." No, and anybody who knows me knows I'm not gonna, you know, do something wrong. It was just, it just was not core, you know, and I think that's what was the problem that he had with it. And I told him at that time, I said, "Look, the whole show that we're doing is music that none of these kids know. And I'm asking them every day to play this music and to accept this music, understand this music, and they're gonna play that at this show tonight. The same way these kids have to learn and adjust, I want you to learn and adjust to." And he was really receptive to it. You know, I didn't realize how green I was talking to my boss like that, but
yeah, but so, that's so true. I mean, those are words of wisdom, right? For any director to be able to articulate that very thing, because our first thing is to be defensive, right? Well, who are you? I'm the band. I'm this and that and that, and this is what I've chosen to do with my program. But those words that you just said, number one, it eases the relationship. Number two, it educates.
Well, that was my goal. I really was frustrated because I realized I was overworking myself trying to marry two. I don't do that anymore. Because I just realized that was something I had to do for the first 5-6 years I did. And I just wasn't really willing to work that hard anymore to try to get people to understand that both can be right. What's that old saying?
It's like a church service. Contemporary or traditional. You can't have them both in one service. You got to split the services.
go to the next service. This ain't the service you're looking for, you know? So, you know, two things can be right at once, you know, and so it was never any wrong or anything like that. It was just that I felt like I had an obligation to stand up for being open to everything, you know.
So what do you do now? So you don't mix bag your shows, or you just kind of let concert band be something and marching band be something else?
Yeah, well, yes, marching band is just it's really geared to what our students like, and we always talk about everything that we do before even so at the end of this season, on the last day of school, we never go home. We just put a bunch of music in the floor and say, look, hey, what do we need to write? What do we need to purchase? What do we want to do? Or what can we do looking at what we have now, you know? And so I cater the program to, well, the marching band to our students. Our students feel comfortable with it. They enjoy it. They like it. They like entertaining people with it. And it's not something that I'm embarrassed by at all.
Go ahead.
I think there are those who would have directors that work at predominantly Black schools to be uncomfortable with. That just doesn't that won't fly with me. I just don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that.
Well, you certainly have a well-respected program. I know you around the state, well-respected gentlemen, and people look up to you, and the model and that you provide for your students is you know, we appreciate that, looking from afar and then digging into a little bit on who you are as a person, who you are as a director. It gives us great insight. It wouldn't be a webinar, it wouldn't be a podcast, it wouldn't be a session without talking about COVID right now and how it affected your program back in 2020. That March, right? Another anniversary, right? A couple weeks ago, we hit March 13th, 2020. It was Friday the 13th, when literally the world shut down. You know, how did that affect you, man? How did that affect your program just right then and there? And then, I guess, for the next year, right?
I promise you, I'm just getting over that. I got like last week. I promise you. We were excited that year. We worked really hard. I found this piece. I think I ordered from a music company in Spain, but it was an arrangement of Malagueña, and these kids were so on fire with this, man. They were ready to go, and we had a competition in New Orleans. It was a competition that a company had organized that was going to be on the campus of University of New Orleans, and the kids were excited about it. I had this whole plantation thing that we're going to visit, and you know, some of the aquarium, just all these nice things. And maybe 2 days before we paid for everything. 2 days before, and we get the word that we're not going to be able to go, and it was just devastating. The kids were absolutely devastated, and here I am, the person that always came up with answers, the person that always fixes everything. I could not fix that, and I didn't realize I had an ego until then. I had an ego that I could solve just about anything that happens in these four walls, and I didn't realize that. I honestly did not realize. I thought I was okay, but my ego was so bruised that I had hurting kids that I could not help, and I had a situation that I couldn't do anything about, and it was just sad and dry and gray. Everything was just I don't know. I think that's how I saw it.
It was a very helpless feeling.
Very helpless feeling. Very, very helpless.
So didn't see your kids for that whole summer, right? Mm-hmm. And then just probably like a lot of our areas, you went back to school 2020, maybe September, October. You saw some students again, right?
Yeah.
And then
I have on an average about, we self-recruit, and we recruit kids in high school. And so we have a whole system that we'll do an open enrollment in about a month from now. Mm-hmm. And for any kid who's seen us around, and we let them know what will be our summer schedule, how we will help you learn this stuff really quickly, and how we will teach and then go back and teach you as we go along. Hey, this is what you did. This is what you played. And, so, every year we have about 30 new people. I had about 20 freshmen come in the year after COVID, and I only kept one student. So I have a band with a sophomore class of one. So, and it was just that these kids that came in some had experience, and it was just so much coming at them as far as their emotions of dealing with COVID and their world being turned upside down. And a friend of mine who's the brass itinerant for Cattle Parish Schools, Bill Conrad, he said, Lennard, this is what it's like. They see death every time they put on a mask every morning, and they have to wear this mask every day. So they're staring death in the eyes every day. So of course these kids are going to be hurting and emotionally unstable, and just so a myriad of problems that come along with it. And I heard I always listen to look at Morning Joe and MSNBC, because he has Republicans and Democrats, and they all sit around the table and talk about the world's problems. But he said something one time. He was like, when America gets the cold, the Black community gets the flu. It's true. It's true. Like, so if you're having economic problems in the country, the Black community is going to have real economic problems. And so I noticed emotionally that handling that, they didn't have the techniques of conflict resolution. They didn't have the technique or the language of saying, hey, I'm hurting, and I'm screaming, but I don't know how to tell you that. How can you help me? So I was just very, very prayerful that I was available to help them. So we talked a lot. We talked every single day, and I let them laugh more than I ever have in my career.
It wasn't about the music, right? It wasn't about quarter note, half note, right? Anymore. It couldn't be.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I had to flip that inside out. I would laugh about maybe 25% of the time. So now I'm laughing about 75% of the time. So my 25%, I have to be more intense, and it seems like it's more palatable for the kids. They can digest that better. And I noticed over the last 2 years that mental health is so much better than other kids who are not in programs or don't have something to help them relieve that stress or confusion.
Funny story just popped into my head about just talking to kids. I kind of, you feel after a while, man, these kids are tired, right? This was 2021. They're tired of masks. They're tired of not having recess. They're tired of not performing. So One Friday, I just put the kids in a circle, and I just started. I said, I hate COVID because of these masks. I hate wearing masks. And I went down the next person. The student said, I hate spinach. I said, no. So let's try again. I hate wearing masks. And then finally it caught on where we were talking about COVID problems, things that we hate that COVID brought on. Absolutely. And the things that finally they were able to speak about, articulate.
And I'm not going to give you credit for it. Okay.
No, hey, that's okay, man. It was the things they missed out on was real touching. They missed little things.
Right.
They miss recess. They miss sitting next to their friend in class. They miss performances. In music, the students miss performing. Yeah. As much of an environment I could make for them that was normal, what was not normal was the fact that we couldn't perform. And now that we're back and able to perform again, have you noticed the difference with the spirit of the student being able to perform again?
It's just, last year we could not perform. Thank God our graduation was outside, and so we decided that our jazz ensemble was going to play. Like, Miss Holden, you need to sing. We're going to do, and they had the time of their lives because that was the only time that they could perform, and they felt normal. And so in that 5 minutes, it did something so much for them. And I think we was one of the only bands in the district that played at graduation. Everyone else had soundtracks and stuff. But I was grateful for that they had that opportunity, and to see them now just where they were when this happened, and the kids that are still here now, just to see them be in a better place mentally and emotionally and even spiritually. I mean, I do have hope. I do have hope that we are still moving towards our better days.
Well, music at its truest sense is expression, right?
Yes. Yes.
So for us to not be able to express ourselves
right.
through instruments, through voice, you know, we were restricted, right? Like you said, spiritually, emotionally, just handcuffed straight down for 2 years, man. So the explosion of, for me, of joy, excitement, of kids being able to express themselves finally, not just for me, not for themselves, but for other people, and for other people to hear that and to tell them how well they did, pat on the back, great job, teachers, parents, judges. It's been really refreshing. So were you kind of a competitive? Go ahead.
Did you go through the thing where you thought everybody else had it figured out better than you did as a director?
Absolutely, man. People were, I just talked to a good friend of mine from Texas. The things that she did, making her classroom look like a different theme of the week. And so my victory was, man, I brought the chairs and stands outside and we played. You know, every day we were able to play something outside. And other people were just doing these big extravagant projects. They were doing tutorials on smart music and composing. And my victory was, I brought the chairs outside today. You know, we played under a tree. But for me, that was my apex of creativity of what I could do, because I'm not a first grade kindergarten teacher with that mentality of doing those very artistic things. So, but what saved me is calling people, and hey, what are you doing? And then people calling me, and well, here's what I did today. So, what was it like for you?
I mean, and to get back on something that we talked about earlier, that my advice to any young director, please, you have. Oh God, it's so refreshing to hear just how other people think and how they do. As a matter of fact, Dr. Jones from LSU, he did the clinic for us, and I was having the worst time trying to conduct with my group 5'8". They wasn't understanding how I was doing, and he did 5'8", just made me look just retarded. He was just. And of course, I gave him a message. Look, dude, I'm taking that because I don't know what you did different than I was doing. But, you know, we have to learn from other people. So when you said that you called other folks and you because there's a culture now, especially with the younger directors, that they're isolated and they don't know community. And I'm an introvert, truly. I truly can stay in the house forever and people wouldn't even know I'm there. But I appreciate the community of music to make me better, to make my ensembles better, to make my students better. And so everyone is going to always have those nuggets that you need to be better. But as getting back to the COVID thing, my apex was, grilling burgers. And so those kids, I think that eased over a lot of COVID problems. I just had to have, I went through a lot of to-go plates, because we had to separate things out. And but for my band program, having a Holden burger just always makes things better. And so I found myself grilling more than I ever have in my life.
Yeah, I walked into your band room, man, and I told you, I said, you have so many spices in an office in the band room. What are you doing with all this? And that's what you said. You grill for the kids. And man, was that something you just felt was needed?
Well, something happened, unfortunately, when I first got to Southwood. There's a McDonald's that's down the street from the school. And on the game day, of course, the kids were all this down to the, and so, teenagers, they're everywhere, darting in and out of traffic, and a kid seriously got injured then. And so I made a decision to every Friday that, I was going to keep band in his house with us, and we would just feed them there. And so I turned those 2 rooms into a kitchen, and, and it's just, I've been a prisoner of that since then. Yeah,
but man, my goodness, they're going to remember that more than, say, playing Australian upcountry tune at district assessment, right? 20 years from now, they'll come back to your band room if you're still teaching and say, remember that time that one day we were grilling burgers and this happened? Right. And you'll say, yeah, that's the time that we did that Granger tune. And they'll be like, what? Who's Granger? Exactly. They don't remember that stuff. They're going to remember those moments, man.
but the band nerd in me sure wants them to remember Granger, though.
I know, right? I know.
And, oh, come on, remember Granger.
So, Lennard, what does 2023 Lennard look like post-COVID? Is he somebody who's still going to be interested in that SEL for the student, wondering what they're going through? Is that going to be something that you feel you'll continue to be someone for them, or do you feel you'll be someone who may be more like the 2019 Lennard?
I think as people, we're all constantly evolving to who we're ultimately going to become. I remember right before I graduated from college, it was a panel that I was speaking to, and one of the doctors on the panel said, what do you plan on doing in the next 5 years? What do you plan on being? What's your plan? And I said, I don't have a plan. And everyone on the panel looked at me. They were like, you clearly know how stupid this is for you to tell us you don't have a plan and you're about to graduate, right? And so they asked me to expound on it. And my answer was simple, that I plan on maximizing every opportunity that God gives me. And that's something that I've used for my life since the age of maybe 22, taking every opportunity that I have and maximizing it to the best of my ability. And that's what I plan on doing, because if I think about all of this too much in my particular type of situation, I would probably just quit, you know. And so I try not to get in my head too much. I try to get out of the way of myself. You know, that's kind of hard because I'm a big guy, so it's kind of hard getting, you know, out of my way. See, skinny people, you see how you laughed at that? All
right, man. That's genes, man. I'm not skinny because I eat well.
Oh yeah. I promise you inhaled your food.
That's right. That's right.
I'm a little ticked off about that, brother. I just want you to know that. but you know, I mean, I just maximize the students that God blesses us with, and I want to always keep learning. Anytime I can get somewhere and learn how to be a better teacher for them, I think that's always good. And so I don't have plans. I always look at it like I do leadership camp the whole summer, because I'm usually by myself, and so my leaders need to be in place to kind of get things going. And I tell them all the time, you know, our job, we're the surgeons, and we have a patient. We don't know why they got shot or stabbed or whatever, why they fell off the roof, you know, painting and broke their leg. We just want to cater to the patient. And so that's going to be my approach. I'm going to maximize this opportunity and do my best at catering to these students.
Wow. Say that again, man. So our schools, our students, our patients, and we're the doctor serving their needs.
Yes. Yes. And, you know, and we don't have much time. You know, we have some urgency about it, you know, because, you know, for me in my life, no one in my family has lived past 70, and I'm 45. And so I realize I have more years behind me than I do ahead of me. And so what I want to be caught doing by my God is doing my absolute best. And that's, I hope he gives me the energy and the vigor and the health to be able to do that, as long as he would allow me to do that.
Man, I recently saw a I guess podcast, YouTube video with Scott Edgar talking to somebody as I'm talking to you now. Mm-hmm. And he just simply asked him this question. I'm going to ask you the same, because I think it's relevant. You know, you mentioned your culinary experience, late to music education. Why music?
That was the first time in my young life that I knew what the emotion of feeling right was on my own, not because someone told me to do that, or it felt right in my bones. I felt normal. I felt well. I felt healthy mentally. I felt seen, and I felt important. Appreciated the fact that everyone around me felt those same emotions. It wasn't like a football team where you have 30, 40 guys waiting to get into the game. If you played penny whistle, you were important. And I had such gratitude for that. And, you know, and to see the power of that and how this nonverbal communication changes lives. We add it to our movies to make us feel things better. We listen to music when we're having dinner at a nice restaurant, when we have family get-togethers, or just going down memory lane. We use music everywhere, and I wanted to be a part of that dynamic. And I realized I wasn't going to set the world on fire, but I most certainly wanted to throw a piece of wood into it, you know.
and that's what we try to tell. We try to convince our students, right, of the benefits of music.
Right.
Man, but to hear you say, as a teacher, that you missed that and you wanted that as an educator, I don't know if I've ever heard that from that perspective before, because we spend so much time telling our students that's what they're going to get out of it, right? That you're building a team, you're working for a common goal.
Right.
But to hear that, man, this is why I left this field to go back into music. That's powerful, man. And I'm glad you were here to share that so that more people can hear you speak about that.
A gift, man, you were destined to be a father, because you can look at your kids and know they are not that impressive and still tell them, son, you did well. I appreciate it, man. Thanks. You know, my self-esteem needed this conversation tonight.
Man. That's very inspirational. It makes me want to go teach tomorrow, not for myself, but to continue teaching for my students, because we all need these conversations, right? We need to hear from people like you and gonna help us get out of bed in the morning and move forward during these times, right? We just got a couple more things for you, man, and then we'll wrap up this conversation. I like to wrap up these things with just kind of either ors, right?
Okay.
All right, you ready? Bugs Bunny or Mickey Mouse?
Bugs Bunny.
Thank you, sir. that wraps up our Zoom call, right? No, I'm just kidding. Fruity or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Okay. Classic cars or new cars?
Any car. No.
Any running car.
Classic. I'll go with classic because, you know, this chip thing is just starting to work my nerves. Okay. So yeah.
Okay.
Classic.
Okay. Favorite food to eat?
Believe it or not, I like salads. I like chef salads.
Okay.
I don't look like it, but
favorite food to cook?
veal parmesan.
Okay. Orchestras or bands?
Man, because if you've ever heard Samuel Barber's Adagio for strings,
yes, sir.
I don't know. Yeah. Bands.
But you've also heard Lincolnshire's Second Movement.
Woo! Lincolnshire Post. Yeah, you're right. Bands.
You could just go the Eric Whitaker route and listen to kind of the whole gamut of things, right? Choir, orchestra. He's written over, right? So can you kind of tell us about, just in our closing remarks, you know, the Robert L. Wilhite Award was meant for directors and programs who were successful, and I mentioned this at our conference, in situations where the expectations was not to be successful. And Mr. Wilhite really was excellent forerunner at somebody who really did that in St. Landry Parish, and woken up to a lot of people who didn't think that those things were possible, and he changed a lot of people's minds. Lennard, you're in that same boat, my friend, of being in a program where you're changing people's minds about what is possible. We honor you. We thank you for the work that you're doing with our students. Can you kind of speak about that award and what it means to you?
Well,
and I know you're a humble man, so it's probably going to be hard for you to speak about this.
I don't know. I mean, I just, every time I'm in kind of situations like this, doesn't matter where I feel like I get a little stupid. I can't think straight, right? But I'm completely overwhelmed and appreciative of the nice things people have said about our program and how we approach it. And I'm humbled by that because, you know, being in the background is something that's really comfortable for, I believe, for most directors. And you know, for an introvert to do this, and over the years, I've gotten used to being extroverted for the job because I have to be extroverted. It just blows me away that people consider what we've done well, and on this scale and this level. So I don't know. I hate talking about stuff like this because, like I said, I always feel like I'm getting a little dumb. But
Well, musicians are our worst advocates, right? You know, we don't like we just like to teach, right? Leave me alone. Let me teach my students in
yeah,
my four
yeah,
walls, and then we'll
yeah,
be good.
yeah.
But for an organization like ours to just sit back and recognize you, recognize your program, and let us advocate for you.
But I do want to say before we wrap up, but Scotty and James Square and you and so many of these other people that I've met in this process of this is one of the great blessings of the pandemic because we were limited to Zoom, and I met all you guys through Zoom, and one thing that came across immediately is that I was dealing with decent people. You ever been in a situation or a place where things happen and you're just like, I'm never coming here again?
Just look at you watch the whole time.
Yes, but I just want you to know how appreciative I've been to get to know decent people, and I've bragged on you guys to my students that they need to know that there are people that don't know you personally, but they speak for you, and they want to understand you, and I'm just grateful for that. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for Scotty, and like I said, all these other people that I've come in contact with. I'm really humbled by this whole process, and I pray that I'm always able to the way affect.
Well, yeah, this COVID has brought a lot of Zooms, but it also brought a lot of people that we didn't know that were able to come on a platform like this and share it with each other, break bread informally, right, and be tethered for life, right? Just I know that I can call you for anything now, and I didn't know you but 3 years ago, you know,
Right.
and now I
Right.
can call you for advice and call you to talk about a situation. And man, we're so grateful to have people like you in our state, and our organization is better to have people like you. We've kind of developed a hashtag with LMEA's, a hashtag better together.
Well, I like that.
Having people like you, man, with us is just going to make us better, and we're honored, we're thankful. So on behalf of LMEA, everybody, we thank you for listening. We hope that you got some nuggets of information, things that you can move forward with your own programs. Go onto our website, go on our YouTube channel, and check out all the other great 12 for 12s that we have. Lennard, do you have any last parting words? And also, if you have any social media accounts that people can kind of log into and see what you're doing and be able to contact you for more information?
Well, we have a YouTube channel that we always keep all of our current videos on. Is Southwood Instrumental Music on YouTube. That's really the only platform that we really do. In part, I'll say, don't be flat, don't be sharp, just be natural.
There you go. That's a t-shirt right there. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the school year. We'll see you in April for our next 12 for 12.